So for those 8 months or so, I was out of therapy after about 3 months, but I was still on the antidepressants because of what I now refer to as bullying. Because I didn't think of it as bullying at the time, but I do now. And then in October last year, it was maybe about a week after my birthday. And as you can imagine, from the way that I've been treated for the majority of the year, I didn't want to do anything for my birthday with them. Quite frankly, they were still my friends in the fact that they were the people who I spent my time with at school, but they weren't friends, you know. But I do have friends elsewhere who I went out with. And then one evening, I had a really bad day. And again, it's going to sound like it was my fault, but if you look at it in the big picture, it's really just the fact that I was in such a stupidly messed up frame of mind. But I put as my Facebook status something about how I had a really bad day from being ignored, which I had been. That was one of the days when I was being ignored by them. And then Emily, she texted me one night as I was coming out of my ballet lesson, and she said, "Is there something you want to talk to me about?" And I texted her back and said, "I don't know what you're talking about," because I didn't want to talk to her about anything. Of course I actually did. There was something I wanted to talk to her about, but I was still so trusting of them that I didn't believe that. I believed that I was being paranoid. So I texted her back saying, "No, there's nothing. What are you talking about?" And she said, "Oh, don't worry, I'll tell you after half term," because it was the day before half term. But I don't think anybody, knowing that there's something on her mind that she wanted to talk about, could have left it at that. So I said, "No, please tell me now, because I worry." And I'm so paranoid, and this went on for quite a while, and then eventually she texted me with the longest text I've ever seen in my life, and it was so similar to the one that Sally had sent me all those months ago that it was almost laughable. She was getting at me for every single thing that she found annoying, from literally the pettiest things. For example, me not saying thank you when she pours me a glass of water at lunchtime. Is that really the sort of thing that a friend would get annoyed about? And for the record, I do say thank you, okay? But then there was all this other stuff about she was just basically lying. You don't do this, you don't do that, you're like this, you're like that. Things which people can prove that I'm not, she was telling me. And then there was the big thing at the end, after she'd gone into this massive detail about how rubbish a friend I am, and how I lie, and how I do this and that, and how I'm so stroppy. Again, the reason if I'm stroppy at all is because I'm mentally ill. I kept saying that over and over again. I'm trying to get across to them that I am so sorry if they feel upset, but I just can't help it. And I hope people understand that. But then obviously there was this big thing at the end where she said, "Never have I insulted your illness." And she put it like that in inverted commas several times throughout her text, and then her email. And it's such a little thing, but that's the thing that gets me still so angry. Gets me feeling anger for them that scares me. Because anybody who's been affected by mental illness knows that it's real. And just those little inverted comments in this, it puts it down. Makes it derogatizes it? Makes it derogatory. I don't know the word. But yeah. And as you can imagine, that completely... And this, by the way, is the girl who wants to be a doctor. That still makes me laugh. I feel very sorry for patients who come to her with depression and anxiety and... oh dear. Anyway. That was the point that I knew that I would have to completely separate myself from all of them. Because even the few people who I haven't mentioned, who are really nice people, they sort of stick to the likes of Sally and Emily, and I don't think they have the self-confidence to sort of speak up for themselves if they actually were on my side. And I just knew that I couldn't ever associate myself. I still couldn't associate myself with Sally at all, because of the suicide comment, which was actually at the point extremely dangerous for me to hear. If I hadn't been in therapy, then God knows what would have happened at that point. And now obviously I could not possibly associate myself with Emily anymore. And not only that, the third person, Ella, goes the very next day and posts on her Facebook, bloody Facebook, something about how she can't believe she ever tried to understand me and didn't realise ever what a bitch I could be. Now, to a certain extent it's acceptable to insult me over private messages, right? But as soon as she starts doing things publicly, which the likes of my little sister can see, I actually got really upset over. That sort of crosses a line, in my opinion. And so now there were 3 out of 5 who hated me, and who I hated back. So I just decided that that was it. I can't possibly deal with this anymore, and I actually got school involved. And my mum involved, even though Emily specifically had insulted me for ever getting my parents involved, as if it was a crime that I had parents who cared, which is stupid. And I think when I got school involved, they sort of realised how very damaging everything they said had been. And I knew Sally was sorry, because she put a birthday card in my locker. And I do forgive her, because I know she's sorry. But we had this big sit-down talk with my tutor and my mum and me and this other woman, and basically just told them everything. And then those 3 got spoken to at school, and then I got spoken to individually, and eventually we arranged for us all to get together. And basically this was the most horrible, difficult thing I've ever had to do in my life. One of the most horrible, difficult things. And I couldn't look them in the eye throughout the whole thing, because I just wanted to get out of there from the moment this meeting started. I just said that I cannot be involved with any of them anymore. For my own well-being, I needed to step back and get better. Because whichever way you looked at it, it was them, starting with Sally and then drifting down to Emily, them who completely halted any sort of hope of recovery that I had. because I'm not a great social person anyway. They were the only friends I had. So for me to have to say, no, I don't want you anymore, I didn't say it like that at all. I said I didn't mean to make them feel guilty, because I really didn't want them to feel guilty about it. I suppose I do, to be honest, but anyway. I had to tell them that I didn't want to be involved with them anymore. And so for the last, let's see, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, for the last 8 months, I'm so bad at maths. Last 8 months, I have, when I'm at school, apart from my teachers and a few select people who are sort of acquaintances, I don't talk to anyone. I don't go to social occasions because nobody invites me. Literally, if you told me to go to school now and talk to somebody who I knew would want to talk to me back, I don't think there'd be anybody. And I've sort of got over feeling sorry for myself that now and just want it to end. And in fact, I've got 1 day of school left. And then that's it. I'm leaving forever. So you can imagine how happy I am about that. And basically, those last 8 months have been really... I've got used to being lonely, to be honest. But they've left me with some sort of... I've forgotten how to socialise with people. I've forgotten how to talk to people. And I get so awkward in social situations. And there's so much problem in my head with this, and I feel like it's all because of those things my friends said to me, and the fact that I didn't mind if they didn't understand mental illness, they just had to accept it, and accept me for it, and they didn't. That's the bottom line. And that is possibly like the worst insult that anybody can ever get, in my opinion, that I could have ever got. It's the worst insult they could have said to me at that point. And that's about it. This video is really long now. I'm glad I've said that and talked about that. I hope you're all well.